Well, good day, everybody, and welcome to another week of meaningful conversations and beautiful connections. I am Jan Jeremias, and for those of you who don't know what I do and where I'm from, so I'm from the northeastern part of the United States, and for more than 35 years, my focus has been on health um, and health and wellness. And over the past 2 decades, I've blended my roots in clinical research with a deep love for holistic wellness to support both people and their pets in living longer, fuller, more connected lives. My passion is helping others see the whole picture of their well being, physically, mentally, and emotionally, and gently translating that into a simple, meaningful blueprint for everyday health. Um, I'm endlessly inspired by creativity and nourished by connection. And I'm so grateful to be here in this community with all of you, appreciating each and every one of you, and also being alongside my dear collaborator and friend, Mary J. McQueen. And together we believe in bringing more kindness into the world, one creative moment, one conscious breath, and one heartfelt conversation at a time. So a heartfelt thank you to Mary Jane and to each of you for being here today and for being a part of Spirit-Born Imaginings. Mary Jane, please.
I was just gonna say, should I take it away, Jay?
Yes, you should.
Yeah, so welcome everyone. Yes, we are really glad that you are here in this space with us. I know those present here know who I am, but I would like to just share that for those that may be listening to the recording later, that I am Mary J. McQueen, and I worked for 30 plus years in corporate marketing as a graphic designer. And now, for the last 6 years, I've been uh, running my own business, MJ McQueen Creative Studio. And of course, I am the co-founder of Spirit-Born Imaginings alongside of Jan, who is always an inspiration to me and a big support to me as well. And we are just so happy to have you here in this space for another intentional conversation and experience that really invites you just to slow down, soften, and reconnect with yourself. Because really, this community is built as a place of presence, compassion, and curiosity. And really, it's all about mindfulness, breath, awareness, and creative reflection. Because for us, we like to come together to support self-kindness and inner transformation. And as always, as those present here know, there's nothing you need to do or achieve here. It's only an invitation to arrive exactly as you are in this moment. And I welcome you here into this circle of care because that's how Jan and I see this community as we are. Um, Jan, shall I start with the poem?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we found a lovely poem. It's by Rosemary Watola Trommer, and it's called Belonging. And if it's true we are alone together, the way blades of grass are alone, but exist as a field. Sometimes I feel it, the green fuse that ignites us, the wild thrum that unites us, an inner hum that reminds us of our shared humanity. Just as 35 trillion red blood cells join in one body to become one blood, just as 136,000 notes make up one symphony. Alone as we are, our small voices weave into the one big conversation. Our actions are essential to the one infinite story of what is to be alive. And when we feel alone, we belong to the grand communion of those who sometimes feel alone. We are the dust that hopes, the rising of dust, a thrill of dust, the dust that dances in the light, and with all other dust, the dust that makes the world.
Thank you so much for sharing that beautiful poem, Mary Jane. So, welcome everyone to Building a Circle of Care. We are so glad you're here. And as we prepared for this gathering, we asked ourselves an important question. What truly builds a strong community? What helps create strong relationships and meaningful connections? Again and again, we were guided back to the same simple and powerful truths: kindness, compassion, gratitude, and the practice of deep listening. So today we gather with a shared intention to create a space where each person feels seen, heard, and supported. In a world that often rushes toward answers and solutions, this circle invites something gentler and more powerful: the practice of listening with the heart. Many of the reflections that inspired this gathering remind us that true care does not come from fixing one another, but from offering our presence. When we listen without judgment, without interruption, and without agenda, we create a place where healing can naturally unfold. As one teaching beautifully expresses, listening gives someone a place to empty their heart. And in doing so, we strengthen the fabric of our community. This is also a space for kindness and gratitude, both inward and outward. Kindness is not only something we offer to others, it is a way of being with ourselves. Gratitude reminds us that even small moments of connection matter. And together, these practices help us feel safer, more connected, and more human. Here, every voice matters. You are invited to bring your whole self, your thoughts, your questions, your silence, your story. We will practice being curious rather than certain, open rather than reactive, and compassionate rather than hurried. As we begin, let us hold this shared intention to listen deeply, to speak from the heart, and to offer one another the gift of our presence. May this circle be a place where care is not just discussed, but practiced, where kindness becomes visible, and where connection grows naturally between us. Welcome to this circle of care. We're grateful you are all here.
Beautiful reflection, Jan. Thank you for sharing that. Um, it's we are truly grateful that you're here, um, because we love to hear so many perspectives and things, because those are the things that build community. And we definitely think, and of course, uh, we were thinking, it's like well, actually today's Friday the 13th, but we won't go into that. But I just love that everybody um, is here, and in this space where we're able to share our hearts and share our thoughts and just have that energy together where we feel supported. It's just beautiful that this is the kind of space that we feel this room is, and we hope you do too.
Absolutely. And if you show up and you show up and you're silent, like just, you show up as you are, whether you come on audio or not, and that's welcome too. Um, and without any expectations on anyone's part, in response, not expecting people to share, obviously, if they're not comfortable to share, or expecting people to show up in a particular way, just with who they are.
Yeah, that's absolutely. And one thing that when we were preparing, we were talking about is like how important it is right now in this time and space that we're in this world, to just really bring forward that feeling of a community. I love that, Seamus. Being present is enough. Yes, exactly. Because being present, like I loved how Jan, how you were reflecting, it's like listening with our hearts. Because sometimes we're not very good with listening with our ears, but the heart is the truth if we really listen. So I just I just loved that imagery about about sometimes our ears seem to be blocked.
Sometimes,
Or
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And if you notice, it's always kind of interesting. I was having this conversation at a meeting the other day with someone one-on-one, and we were talking about, working a lot around older adults
Mhm.
and selective hearing.
Yes, selective hearing. Well, we all have selective hearing now, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. But,
I think we
we
put
were
it
just,
on older adults, but I'm pretty sure we all have it.
yes, I think we do. But it was just, we both had examples of selective hearing, and, so it was just like, but I've been thinking, I always think my dad, but my dad's birthday is on Monday. So he's been on
Oh,
my mind a lot. And we were just
yes.
talking about like, he wouldn't be feeling well and he'd go to the doctor. And I'd say, "So how'd you make out?" She said, "Everything's fine." And
Oh
I guess
boy.
crack up because I knew, like, either he didn't tell her what was going on or he told her and then he just chose to ignore it. So, so either one. I was not getting the whole story, but
Yes,
that was okay. You just got to take it. But yeah, that's selective hearing. But yes, we always, we have the capacity, hopefully. And if we don't, we kind of know that about ourselves. Like, let's say we're feeling overwhelmed ourselves, and maybe it's not the point in time when you move into a conversation. It's like, you want to hear something, but maybe at that point you're kind of whatever, you're overwhelmed yourself. And I think then it makes it kind of challenging for you to sit there and be open
absolutely.
to whatever anybody else is, offering or sharing. But I think, to me, the word attention and presence were very, very, very dynamic and very, because it's an active presence. It's an
Yes,
acknowledgement of being there for somebody else in community, of of not necessarily saying anything and allowing somebody to literally empty their heart if that's what they need.
exactly. Well, I love the whole idea is that really about the whole idea about about kindness and compassion and attentive listening, because we're not there to fix, we're there to just hold space. And so you know, for the thing, I mean, there's such amazing benefits for both the holder of that space and the one that's receiving that support and in that space. And so it just creates a reciprocal ripple of compassion, right? We can all feel very divided often in a world that seems to stress that a lot. And it's lovely to come to a space here where the guiding principle is kindness and really just making strong connections with people, because we just really realize that empathy and connection are really the things that help us to move upward together. And just knowing that other people, like-minded people, I guess, are holding that kind of intentional space, being active. I like that idea too about you were saying it was like an active presence, an active listening. It's not waiting for things to happen, but just letting it be a reciprocal. I think they called it a spiral. I think an upward spiral of compassion. One of the articles was speaking to. So I love that principle. Well, I like the images of spirals anyway. So that's just me.
No, it is a great image, but it's really important, I think, to be present. And it was interesting because in this meeting I had on Wednesday, the woman and I, it was a one-on-one in person, and I noticed that we both kind of put away our phones for the time we were together, and the day before that, earlier that day, I had been on a meeting with someone, and when I say a one-on-one, and she spent the entire time checking her phone, like every other second. And it was, first of all, it was very distracting for
Mm,
me.
yes.
And second of all, I felt like, does she have someplace else to be? Even though we had like scheduled the time, but does she have someplace else to be? Was she expecting a call? Like, or something very important? Which maybe if she had said, I'm expecting a call or something, I would have like not paid as much. Like it wouldn't have been as like sort of, I don't know, it just wouldn't have bothered me so much. But the entire conversation that we were on, it was like every other second she was checking her screen. And I was like, okay, you know, it was just very somewhat like offsetting. Like I didn't get obviously a great vibe from it.
No, obviously, no, obviously. Well, that's also a testament to our times of how glued to our screens we are, isn't it? And how nice to be
Absolutely.
able to be in a space like this where I know we're looking at a screen, but we're not, there's not the distraction of all the normal video things that happen. So it's which is one of the reasons why we continued that way when we moved from the LinkedIn audios was because we felt that it allows it's a different environment of being distracted, right? Like even though there's a screen present, it's not the same level of distraction as when you're in a meeting and everybody's doing their own thing, right? So
I don't know. I thought it was because it's the morning here, and just in case our hair wasn't done, we could be off screen. I mean, person,
yeah,
you
what
know,
that yes, that
that
too.
too, that too. Yeah, yeah. Just in case, as my grandmother would have said, when we aren't all dolled up.
Hold
You
up.
know, we aren't all dolled up that we could still be on screen. No, obviously that was not the reason, but kind of bring a little humor in there, but which is also important. One of
Yes.
the articles said something, and I think um, it was a wonderful article by Dr. Keltner, who I actually love his work, and it was talking about that we talk about our nervous system and all the things that, fight or flight and survival and all these different things. And he said, if you look at everything between, he was speaking to gratitude, compassion, and awe. He said, our nervous system isn't just fight or flight. Compassion, gratitude, and awe are part of the story of who we are as a race and as, as human beings. And I think we have to remember that. I think that we almost think that, our predominant thing is that fight or flight survival, and we kind of use compassion, gratitude, and awe to sort of like or to make up the difference or to like soften whatever that, that reaction that we have of feeling, not to say that those aren't like, obviously that's hugely, safety and survival are very much a part of why we're still here. But the fact that there is a very integral part of us that really it's ingrained in who we are and the story of who we are and also our survival is this element of connection and compassion and gratitude and awe. Like those are important too.
Yeah, absolutely. They're extremely important pieces and they're extremely important piece of building a community, building a circle of care around yourself, no matter what that looks like. And you can have multiple ones depending on the situation and as is possible too, we have overlaps too within our circles of care, but building that presence around you that's there. Cheering you on when you need cheering on and just listening when you need to be listened to and just being supportive in that way. So yeah, it's true. Compassion and gratitude. I love that.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I think that those are vitally important. And I think you're right. I think that, you know, being being around for people and being present for people and being open enough to ask someone like, I really want to be here. What do you need right now?
Absolutely.
What would help you? You know, you're dealing with a lot. Can I help you in some way? Or do you just need to vent? Or do you need to be heard? Do you need to be heard? Do you need to be supported? Can I help you in some way? And so this way there's open communication. And I think that a lot of what we're talking about is, people have to be comfortable enough to be open and hopefully, creating a space like this, with that strong foundation of, you can show up as you are and there's no, whatever that is on a given day. And that's perfectly wonderful. And allowing that, for yourself, because then I think it gives yourself permission to do the same, but also allowing it for others, is
Absolutely.
really important. So, Seamus, please.
Yeah, that's exactly kind of what I was thinking, and you've just kind of spoken to what I was going to mention, Jan. So, really about like I suppose noticing within ourselves first is so fundamental because we're living in such a busy outside, externally focused world that, yeah, it's obviously important to listen and to understand another person's perspective and create the space to understand another person's perspective and care for, for other people and show up for other people. But I think it begins with the foundation of showing up and listening and noticing and attending to what's going on within ourselves as a foundation so we can better engage and be there for others as well. So I think that's a key theme, I suppose, of many of our conversations here every week. It's around the attention to self and compassion for self in to kind of counteract a sort of a kind of a natural habit we develop to be so hard on ourselves and to ignore the 99% of the good things and things that go well and how we engage with people and focus on the 1% that we didn't necessarily do a great job on and then beat ourselves up over that completely disproportionately. You know what I mean? So I think when we're noticing that and creating a space to be to accept that as, yeah, that could have gone better, but you know what? That's okay. I've learned from that. I put it down to experience and move on from that. And, going back to Susan David and some of her work, it's simply information. It's there. It belongs, that emotion, whatever it is, whether it's anger, frustration, compassion, joy, whatever it is, it's there for a very, very, very good reason. And learning to attune to that, like through the heart and, you know, back to that word choice, which is coming up through what you were sharing there earlier. We have the choice in every moment to be able to actually, through attuned attention and listening to ourselves from our inside out, to be able to make better choices with how we engage with other people on the back of that. Because so often, there was just a reflection I was thinking about the other day that I put into my own WhatsApp. I just read back here just a very simple statement, but it speaks to, I think, what we're talking about now. Our emotions are often associated with what's happening outside ourselves, but they are actually happening within ourselves. And, it's all so easy to begin to kind of blame and point the finger at other people for something that's happening with inside ourselves. And I think there's great power in being able to become more attuned to. You mentioned the word foundation there, Jan, about building that foundation of noticing and understanding what information is coded in our emotions so that we can better engage and understand and create a space for other people in a way that we mightn't have been able to create a space when we're not noticing what's going on within ourselves as that kind of solid platform.
Absolutely. And you're speaking to something that I speak to. I think in the meditation we'll go through today, because I start with listening within first, is taking that time and space to listen within yourself, and how important that is. Like beginning there. I think we have to learn how to listen to ourselves. Otherwise, it's kind of like we're listening to others through this filter, and that filter is whatever we're going through, and we're not truly listening to them because whatever we're feeling or thinking or whatever is kind of clouding or fogging the glass. We've got to basically clean that glass off. So, or whatever, clean the surface off so that whatever we hear from someone else is coming from them and not our interpretation or our feelings aren't getting in the way. And I think at times, depending on the relationship, that can be hard because, one of our main, um, I think as human beings, most like I'd say, at least I can speak for everybody in this room, we want to alleviate the suffering of others. Like we don't want anybody else to be in pain. And so we want to do and we want to help and, give advice and alleviate the suffering of others. But really, it's not our job. It's our job to help them kind of do that for themselves. It is not, not a job, but it's our role of being present is to allow the person enough space to talk through or to come to a space of realizing, how they best can move through whatever they're going through. And I think
Yeah,
when you love someone or when you love someone or value someone, that's very a hard place to be, to watch.
absolutely. Um, I don't
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Paul. Depends.
know. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you for that little bit of humor, Paul. Loved it. Love it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was having a good chuckle because I was thinking at the time because you're saying like listening inward and this is not to make light because of course we know that we do need to listen inward that also makes us more present for others because we can see ourselves in others and they can see themselves in us. But I was laughing, I'm like, sometimes I'm tired of my own dialogue in my head. So
Yeah.
so sometimes, I'd rather be listening to somebody else's dialogue because maybe there's something in what they have to say that feels like it resonates with me. But it was just I was laughing to myself, and then Paul came out with the depends, which made me laugh. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, sometimes the dialogue in my head is like, yeah, it needs to go somewhere else.
Right, right. No, I love that, Mary Jane, because I agree. Like sometimes what the conversations that we're having within are, we're tired of them. And I saw a really funny meme quite a while ago. It was with someone, which not saying I approve of this, sitting next to their dog. They're driving and the dog is sitting in the passenger seat next to them. And the dog has like a little bubble above its head saying, I didn't sign up for this as the person's talking, it's like, and that's how sometimes we feel like, or either way, for ourselves, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, I've got to get out of my head. And it might not be, I mean, it might be the space you need, you need that space to do something different, to get outside, to breathe, to like give yourself a little bit of space and calm to be able to filter out. And sometimes maybe a conversation will help that because it does move you, puts you in a different, if you can be present for someone else, it does allow you to have that space to be able to, think about something else for a while, quiet the thoughts. As I put in there, listening is what I need when my thoughts are so tangled, they have no beginning and no end. you know, and sometimes that's how it feels. It's like, oh
Are
my
are
God.
you are you inside my head?
I know exactly, exactly.
Um, but
But,
I, I I love that too. But I loved when we were doing the research too, is like that when they were talking about the Cherokee thing about the two walls about like talking about like feeding joy, kindness, and gratitudes makes these qualities stronger within us. So, and then the quote that they had is this is like which wolf is going to win today? And the one you feed. And so sometimes I need to feed it with listening attentively to something outside of myself because then it makes me, in a way, come back to myself, if that makes any sense.
yeah. Um, just in case, I mean, I would, I think everybody knows the North American sort of like parable about the two wolves, but I'll just share it just in case. A Cherokee elder was sitting with his young grandson. The old man says, "Inside of me is there is a ferocious war. which is taking place between two wolves. One is full of malice, envy, resentment, anger, and discontent. It lies and cheats and is filled with pride. His grandson listens intently as he continues. The other wolf is full of joy, love, peace, hope, kindness, generosity, and gratitude. The same kind of battle takes place within you and every individual. The young boy's eyes grow wide and asks, Grandpa, which wolf is going to win? The grandpa looks at him with kind eyes, smiling gently, and says, The one you feed.
I love that. That it's so true.
Yes, it is.
And I know you listen to a wonderful podcast, and I've listened to some too, whatever about what is it? It is called that, isn't it? The one you feed.
The one you feed with Eric Zimmer, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like going, I'm like, wait a minute. That's
And yeah, I'm actually moderating for a program that he's doing right now.
awesome. See?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, love that. Paul, please.
Hi there. No, I was just two things. I was just laughing every time Mary Jane says about a boat. I'm thinking my goat is acting up. Um,
That's
anyway,
my Canadian. That's what can I say?
no, it's so funny. Um, no, I was just thinking. Um, it's when you talk about which wolf is winning, but I've you made me think that because I think about moments, I don't think about days. I think I have moments when my sarcastic wolf wins, and then there are moments when something wiser comes in or something funnier or different things, and I think it's just to touch them lightly, to not to attach or judge, etc. Um, I think then it becomes easier because I think if I worry that, oh yeah, they might not have been my best self. I mean, I can take corrective action within myself and say, okay, if that happens again, but and you do it through self-awareness and reflection because you just okay, if that should happen again, then I can do this. So it's not just to let things keep happening over and over, but sometimes, with getting clarity. Um, and this is maybe where my thinking differs from many of you. I think getting clarity doesn't always mean being kinder to others. Getting clarity can be sometimes kind to ourselves and putting a boundary down. Like, for example, when I say depends, there's a certain type of person who supports certain type of people who I have a very strong boundary for. Have a, I mean, for me, once I figure out if they are that kind of person, I'm not interested. Um, and I don't think that's unkind. I think that's just clarity that comes from experience. And if I was to judge myself on that alone and go, well, I'm an unkind person because those kind of people I have a strong boundary with, I would, yeah, then I don't think I would be very kind to myself. But I think it's just that honesty um, of, and I'm just one of those people who lead with both sides of the wolves um, that exist within me. Well, I probably have many wolves, and like I said, the sarcastic one does win out quite often.
Well, you bring something up, Paul. And so first of all, that's the Eric Zimmer opens every podcast with the story, and whoever he's interviewing asks their input of what like how they feel about that parable. And to them, what does it mean? And how it changes over time for because he's had people on multiple times, some guests. And and I would say the vast majority talk about having both wolves inside of you. It's not like you're trying to eradicate. a wolf. And it's not like, I mean, the parable, they talk about it being good, like the good wolf and the bad wolf. But after listening for a few years to him and actually thinking about myself, I don't know if I necessarily think about it that way anymore. I might have a number of years ago, like it was that absolute. But then realizing, like you said, there are times when we have to, but we like, and it's not, I mean, it's really how we feel. It might come from the outside as if we're being unkind, but we've also got to protect ourselves and also got to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. And sometimes those come from creating, well, I would say not even sometimes, often creating boundaries and knowing, basically, to me, it's about knowing both the wolves and knowing who you are and how you navigate and what you might want to change and what you might not, like what you might be okay with and how it is and everything. It's kind of, to me, knowing like the mode at which you operate. So knowing the wolves and not trying to push anything away because everybody talks about like basically allowing both wolves to be there.
I think it comes back to intention as well, John. That's one thing, like out of what Paul has just shared too, what you responded with. It's we can operate from any of the wolves basically with choice, like an intention, and the bad so-called bad wolf. If we're operating that bad wolf with great intentions about, this is the right time for the bad wolf to kind of dominate how I engage with a situation or a person, I think that's okay because it's coming from a place of judgment, and maybe judgment and maybe discernment is a better word. It's coming from
Hmm.
a place of, engaging with the situation, noticing what's going on within myself, and then making a choice. Do you know what? Maybe this needs a bit firmer engagement than the kind, caring person that I know I am, like that dominates my inner essence. Maybe this situation demands that, like the bad wolf emerges for a little while to give the situation the benefit of the bad wolf experience. And I think that's back to choice and that's back to intention around just trusting our instinct and discernment that, this is what this situation needs right now from a place of, the best intention from within ourselves. And only we will know individually, what that discernment feels like and what is the best, good intention driven engagement from any particular experience. And that's, like Paul mentioned, living in the moment of every moment is an opportunity to kind of make a choice around what this moment needs right now from my perspective.
Hmm. Very, thank you, Seamus, for that. And I think to your point, what you spoke about earlier is also when we, let's say, respond, or maybe we react instead of respond. So it's a lot more, we react in what we might call an inappropriate way, or we don't like the way we responded or reacted. Maybe, one of the qualities of you know, came up of a wolf that wasn't really what you wanted is to look at that with discernment and objectivity and with presence and to realize, realization of where it came from and why it happened and, kind of thing. And so it's not like you're either trying to erase that either because it happened and it happened. So, you can't do anything about it now. I mean, maybe you can take ownership of it and apologize or take action because of it. There's nothing wrong with saying, oh, I didn't handle that appropriately. I wish I had said that better. That wasn't very kind. That wasn't exactly what I meant. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's actually taking responsibility for whatever, shows up, whichever wolf appears sometimes.
Yeah, well, that's very true, and as I sort of put it in the chat, it's all of the wolves in a pack are important pieces because they all have their roles and purpose, right, within the in that community. Um, because as we all know, I mean, being a lone wolf without all of those pieces, it's not very it's not very helpful for longevity. Let's just put it that way.
Absolutely. I mean, a
Need
lone
all of
wolf
them.
won't survive.
Yes.
in the
Exactly.
wild. And if you think of the community as being yourself, um, yeah, then, well, yeah, I saw that he said, I saw very funny. I think Sharon Salzberg put it up, who's a wonderful meditation teacher. And she said it was around Halloween. And she said something like an aware wolf versus a werewolf. It
Yeah.
was really funny.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
And
that reminded me of that lone wolf or Paul, but yeah, an aware wolf versus
yes.
a
Yes.
werewolf. So, yeah, but I think that we need all of that, right? It's not like we can navigate life just with all there are points we have to stand up for ourselves, we have to defend ourselves, we have to hold our ground, and so it's not like absolute, like it can't all be one-sided. And I think that there are many stories about um, different silent retreats, meditation retreats, people going off and being by themselves or being in a community of, let's say, monks or ascetics and them like having like a conflict. And part of the reasons the conflict shows up within yourself and within others is you know, to basically dance with those wolves, right? Paul, please. I like the idea of dancing with a wolf, though. That image is very much making me smile.
Uh, yeah. Um, there's a South African movie, in fact, Volve Dance in Skimmer, and it's a horror. I listened to it as a kid. It was a radio show, and then became a movie years later. It basically translates as wolves dancing at dusk. Anyway, we talk
Okay,
about.
now I got the chills.
So I was just thinking, there's, and I know when I started on my self development journey, and there there's this book by David Hawkins, Power versus Force, and as you, I guess as you grow, etc. And at that time, I was, you know, the numbers become fascinating, especially you do kinesiology and stuff, and you find yourself vibrating higher or a higher frequency. But it also becomes a trap because ego loves things that we can stroke it with. So it's like, oh, my numbers are going up, etc. And then there comes a point where you realize you don't leave behind all those parts of you. They are still there. They just don't dominate. And
Mhm.
they come, they're moments um, when there are moments in a day or situations where a part of you turns up, but we're not blind to those parts anymore. They turn up, and you can go, okay, I see that. I wonder what triggered that. And then we can gain clarity and insight. Um, but it's for me, the lesson there was that it's when you think that you can't get angry anymore, you can't be experience this emotion or that emotion or this or that human condition. That's when you're, I think, one's in trouble. I mean, on the David Hawkins scale, 1,000 is what God resonates at. So, and I'm not foolish enough to think I'm God. So I know that, as a human, I fluctuate, um, but maybe I just fluctuate differently from what an earlier version of me fluctuated at. Um, but then again, like I say, I don't want to. I'd never go with the idea that I'm perfect or anything like that, because it's just whenever I encountered people that preach that or act like that, I just get the heebie-jeebies and I have to run a mile.
Love that,
There's
Paul.
another name for a horror movie, heebie-jeebies.
PBGBs. But absolutely true. And I think, maybe when we begin our spiritual journey or our self-development journey, however you want to, whatever you call it for yourself, I think we do have the idea that somehow we're going to get beyond and all that stuff that was, like all those characteristics that we disliked about ourselves or the way we responded or reacted, or like we don't do them anymore. And it's almost like when I first got to yoga and this idea of reaching enlightenment, enlightenment, I'm just going to be enlightened, kind of thing. And then you realize that maybe you're enlightened for one moment in a day, you have that kind of glimpse. And then you realize, as I practice, that it was all like just being aware was enlightenment. Like that was being in the light of just being in the light of awareness was enlightenment. It wasn't about trying to get to beyond anything. It was about being present for it. And so that became so much more, what I want to say, that resonated so much better because with me. And I think you also go through the stage of that you have a reaction and it doesn't become all that you are. Like you realize that you are so much more than just that one response or that one thing you did or the way you thought about that one thing. It's like you're so much more than that. You don't leave that behind, but you're so much more than that. And that, I think also was part of the process, hopefully part of the process. Al, what's our acronym for today, Al?
Oh, you spot on. The word is care, simple one, because you're talking about a circle in care. So one of them you already touched, the C. I think you already know, right, Jen? When you first started the conversation, the word compassion, and A is acceptance, and R is respect, and E is empathy. But we missed out one thing. So when we put the word caring. So you take out the E and you put ing. You put in care in gratitude. So basically you have the two in there. So that's why you have the gratitude also earlier on you mentioned. So important for us that we're talking about the lone wolves, the alpha wolf, and the omega, or the pack. The pack always wins, especially in strong winter. The lone wolf will always try to become the alpha male, and then eventually it will lose out, from the pack, and then you'll die alone in the winter, cold snow and all that. So eventually, it's important that we can be a sarcastic wolf or something like what Paul said, but eventually we still come down to getting the respect from others and empathy and the acceptance. So that's the short acronym for this week from me. Thank you.
I don't feel like it was short, Al. I feel like we got a double acronym.
I was just going to say that I love that. It was just like, well, if we just go a little bit longer, um, but yeah, I just love that. So it's so awesome. And thank you all for being present here and sharing in this beautiful circle of care, because I just feel that there's just a lovely energy in this space. And I love that we can fill it with both laughter and serious conversation all at once. And I'm looking forward to Jan's meditation.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mary Jane. Yes, it was a beautiful conversation. And thank you all for, the energy and what you brought. So we'll move into our meditation for today. So let us begin by arriving just as we are in this moment. Make sure you're in a comfortable position, seated, resting in a way that feels supportive to your body. Allow your hands to gently, open or just rest. And if it feels safe for you, you may gently close your eyes or soften your gaze. Take a slow breath in and a slow breath out. Again, breathing in and breathing out. There's nothing you need to fix, nothing you need to solve, nothing you need to become in this moment. Today, this meditation is an invitation to listen to yourself. Sometimes our thoughts feel tangled without a clear beginning or end. And rather than pushing them away, we meet them with curiosity and care. Allow your attention to rest at the center of your chest, at the place where breath and feeling meet. Notice the natural rhythm of your breathing, not changing it, simply listening. As you breathe, silently say to yourself, I am here, I am listening. Let whatever is present within you be present. Thoughts may arise, feelings may surface, sensations may come and go. There's no need to label them, no need to judge them. Simply listen. If the mind begins to wander, gently return to this simple awareness, your breath, and your willingness and openness to listening inwardly. You might reflect quietly on these words. Listening is what I need when my thoughts feel tangled. I give myself permission to listen. Now offer yourself these affirmations slowly and gently. I listen to myself with compassion. My feelings are welcome here. I do not need to rush my understanding. I trust the wisdom that arises when I listen. Notice if there is something within you asking for attention today, not with urgency, but with kindness. Perhaps it's a feeling, perhaps it's a word, perhaps it's simple, just the need to be still. What arises, allow it to be met with gentleness. Take a few more slow breaths, breathing in and breathing out. Now gently expand this listening, not only to yourself, but to the shared space of this circle. Knowing that when and as we learn to listen within, we also learn to listen to one another with greater care. And silently offer this intention. Today and this week, I will listen with compassion and kindness. I will listen to myself with compassion and kindness. With intention, I will practice this in one conversation each day for the next week. Rest for a few moments in quiet awareness. And when you're ready, begin to notice your body again, the support beneath you, the sound of breath, the presence of others in this circle, and gently in your own time, open your eyes. Carry this practice of listening with you into your time with yourself, into your conversations, into your relationships. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody.
Yes, thank you all for being present with us today.
Have a wonderful Valentine's Day.
Yes, much love to you all.
Much love to you all. So, a few things. Mary Jane, Darlene, and I began our four-part series this past Wednesday with a wonderful session by Mary Jane.
Oh, thanks.
And you're welcome. You're welcome. It was beautiful. And so the next one is this Wednesday, but you would get a recording of the last one if you want to still sign up. So you'd still get all four recordings. So and the practices and everything. So the link will be is on our social media pages. But if you need that, please let us know. Our next workshop for Spirit Born Imaginings is March 14th. So that's coming up soon.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and thank you all so much for being here. When I say like, not only because of Valentine's Day, from the bottom of my, like from my heart to yours.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for helping us to build a community of self-care and self-kindness, self-love. And you know, it's the Seamus is asking a question in the chat, Jan.
Oh, hold on a second. What does this moment need from me? Yeah, it's good.
I love
Love that,
that.
James. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I love that question because lately, my real the kind of mantra that I've been going with is what's the next best step? And so that kind of goes along with that. But I like the way you phrase that. Like, not only what's the next best step, but what's the best next step for me,
Mm-hmm.
for me. And so that very personal kind of like, okay, what's the next best step I can take for me? My old like spiritual teacher, acupuncturist used to say, and for the greater good of all, was what she would always add on. Is like, you know, what is the next best thing for me and for the greater good of everybody involved?
Yes, that's that rippling of kindness, empathy, and compassion out into the world then, right? That's the next step after that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
you know, or may the energy that of what I'm doing actually be for the greater good,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
May it be for the greater good of all involved,
Yes, and may it
as
be so,
opposed to,
Jan.
yeah, as opposed to being, like just, you know, so me focused.
Yes,
Like it made my decision not only be for me, but also for the we.
yes, yes, there we go. From me to we, right?
For me to we, exactly.
But thank you all for being here.
Thank you all. Love to you all.